Good morning, my dear students. Today your class is pelvic diaphragm and lumbosacral plexus. Both are very important essay questions in your examinations. So try to understand these two topics. First we'll see pelvic diaphragm. Pelvic diaphragm, it is a gutter shaped thin sheet of muscular partition which is slung as a hammock around the pelvis midline effluents such as urethra, vagina in female and anal canal, and it is also makes a partition in between the pelvic cavity and perineum. And you see here, this is a levator ani muscle. It is a component of pelvic diaphragm. This levator ani muscle, it is separating here pelvic cavity from the perineum. So this is a partition in between the pelvic cavity and perineum. When you see the components of pelvic diaphragm, it consists of two muscles on either side, that is levator ani muscle, coccygeus muscle. On morphological grounds, levator ani, coccygeus, both muscles acts as a one entity. These muscles are arranged from before to backwards as a three groups, that is pubococcygeus muscle, iliococcygeus muscle, ischio-coccygeus muscle. It is also called as a ischio-coccygeus as a coccygeus muscle. When you see in these three muscles, pubococcygeus, iliococcygeus muscle belongs to levator ani muscle, ischio-coccygeus muscle belongs to coccygeus muscle, and these three muscles which are superiorly and inferiorly enclosed by superior and inferior fascia of pelvic diaphragm. When you see here, this is ischio-coccygeus muscle and this all is levator ani muscle. When you see in the levator ani muscle, posteriorly we are seeing iliococcygeus muscle and anteriorly we are seeing pubococcygeus muscle. You see all these muscles which are arranged like as a gutter. When you see the order, first we are going to see the piriformis muscle. Just below the piriformis muscle we are seeing the ischio-coccygeus muscle. From the ischio-coccygeus to then the gutter runs downwards and forwards into the iliococcygeus, and next is the pubococcygeus muscle. So which surrounds the majorly pelvic effluents, that is urethra, in female vagina and rectum. Now we will see levator ani muscle. Levator ani muscle, as you see in this diagram, this entire portion is the levator ani muscle and this posterior triangular one is the coccygeus muscle. Levator ani muscle, it arises continually from before to backwards, a pelvic surface of pubis bone, a tendinous arch. This line is a tendinous arch or a white line of pelvic fascia. So this is the second point of origin. Next is the pelvic surface of ischial spine. So these lines which gives the origin for the levator ani muscle from before to backwards. When you see this tendinous line, this is adherent with the obturator internus fascia. And you see this is the obturator foramina region and which is covered with the obturator internus muscle, and obturator internus muscle is covered with the obturator internus fascia. This obturator internus fascia and this tendinous arch which is adherent and forms as a thickened facial region and which gives the origin to the different fibers of levator ani muscles. And these fascias are derived from the pelvic fascias. So this is the origin of levator ani muscle. In this levator muscle, I already told you there is a two group of muscles are there. Anteriorly pubococcygeus muscle, posteriorly iliococcygeus muscle. Now we'll see iliococcygeus muscle. Iliococcygeus muscle, which is arises from the posterior part of white line and pelvic surface of ischial spine. Then these fibers are descended downwards, backwards, medially. The next it is inserted into the lower two pieces of coccyx bone and anococcygeal raphe. So this is about the iliococcygeus muscle. When you see the anococcygeal raphe, it is extended from the posterior part of anal canal to the tip of the coccyx. And this anococcygeal raphe, it is a musculo-tendino-facial structure. When you see from deep to superficial, the fascia, it is derived from the presacral fascia, that is lies in the deep. Next is intermediately, it is contains a tendinous arch or tendinous part. This tendinous part, it is derived from the pubococcygeus muscle, and in superficially, that means lower part, which is a muscular portion. This muscular portion, which is derived from the iliococcygeus muscle and superficial fibers of external ani sphincter muscles. So this is about the anococcygeal raphe. It contains three strata structures, that is the deep strata, that is the facial part, and intermediate strata, that is the tendinous part, and superficial strata, that is the muscular portion. So this is about the anococcygeal raphe. So this anococcygeal raphe, it is also called as a post-anal plate, which is extended from the anal, posterior part of anus region to tip of the coccyx. So this iliococcygeus muscle, it is inserted into the lower two pieces of the coccyx and anococcygeal raphe. So in this muscle, in this diagram, we can see this is iliococcygeus muscle. See, this is the white facial line or tendinous arch, and this is obturator internus muscle, and it is forming this thickened fascia. And from the thickened fascia, we are seeing the origin of iliococcygeus muscle, and this iliococcygeus muscle, it is inserting here lower two pieces of the coccyx, and this is the anococcygeal raphe. This anococcygeal raphe, it is extending from this anal, posterior part of anus to tip of the coccyx. So in this diagram also you can see this is a tendinous arch, a white line, and this is the obturator fascia, internal obturator fascia, and from this tendinous line, here we are seeing this the iliococcygeus muscle origin. This is a vertical section in the iliococcygeus muscle. It is extending back and it is inserting into the lower two pieces of the coccyx, and this is the anococcygeal raphe. This is anal canal. From the anal canal to this is the tip of the coccyx, this anococcygeal raphe is extending, and this anococcygeal raphe posterior part, it is gives the insertion for the iliococcygeus muscle. So this is the iliococcygeus tendinous line, and this is the anococcygeal raphe. Now we will see pubococcygeus muscle. All these are not in your textbook, so while explanation, try to take notes. Pubococcygeus muscle. This is the anterior portion of the levator ani muscle, and this pubococcygeus muscle, it arises from the anterior part of this tendinous arch and pelvic surface of the pubis. and these muscular fibers which are descended down, backwards and medially with the different degrees of obliquity and inserted into the different parts. So according to this insertion, this pubococcygeus muscle is divided as a three parts. There is the anterior fibers, middle fibers and the posterior fibers. The posterior fibers forms pubococcygeus proper muscle, and middle fibers forms puborectalis muscle, puboanalis muscle. Anterior fibers forms pubovesicalis muscle in male, in female pubovaginalis muscle. So these four group of muscles are very important. So in the pubococcygeus muscle, it contains four muscles again. One is the posteriorly pubococcygeus proper, and middle part puborectalis and puboanalis, and anterior part pubovesicalis or pubovaginalis in the female, pubovesicalis in male. Now we'll see pubococcygeus proper muscle. You see the pubococcygeus proper muscle is the pubococcygeus proper, and this muscle it is arises from the tendinous arch or right line of the pelvic fascia, and which is descended downwards and backwards, and this is inserted into the tip of the coccyx muscle, coccyx bone, and it is inserted into the anococcygeal raphe. So when you see this pubococcygeus muscle which is overlaps the anterior fibers of iliococcygeus muscle. So this is about the pubococcygeus proper muscle, and this pubococcygeus proper muscle which is very important muscle in the pubococcygeus group, and it is the main muscle which is lies on the backwards and supports the pelvic effluence. Next we will see a second muscle, puborectalis muscle. When you see the puborectalis muscle, here also you can see this is the coccygeus muscle, and this is the tendinous line, and here we are seeing this is the iliococcygeus group of muscle, and this is the pubococcygeus muscle. This pubococcygeus muscle, it is extending backwards, inserting into the lower tip of the coccyx bone and anococcygeal raphe, and it is overlapping this iliococcygeus muscle. Here also you can see this is the pubococcygeus proper and overlapping iliococcygeus muscle and inserting into the tip of the coccyx and anococcygeal raphe. Next, middle fibers. Middle fibers, it formed by two muscles, that it forms the two muscles, that is puborectalis muscle and puboanalis muscle. You see puborectalis muscle. This is a puborectalis muscle. This puborectalis muscle, it is arises from the white line or tendinous fascia, and which is descended downwards and backwards, and which reaches into the posterior aspect of anorectal junction. There it is winds around the anorectal junction, then continues with the opposite muscle and forms a forward U-shaped sling. Is called as a puborectalis sling. This puborectalis sling, it is very important. It is helps in the formation of forward bending of this rectum. So this is about the puborectalis sling, and here raphe, that coccygeal raphe is not present, and in this puborectalis muscle region. Why means, when you see here this puborectalis muscle which lies in the lower part of this pubococcygeus proper muscle, and which runs backwards, and here it is blends with the posterior deep fibers of external ani-sphincters, and next it is continuous with the opposite muscle. So that's why puborectalis sling, it is lies lower plane than this pubococcygeus proper. So that's why the anococcygeal raphe is not present in the pubococcygeal the winding part. So this is the pubococcygeal. So you see this pubococcygeal muscle actually which helps in the formation of the forward curvature of this rectum. So when there is a relaxation of this puborectalis muscle, this rectum becomes as a straight tube and it helps in the defecation. So during the defecation, this puborectalis muscle, it is relaxed, and remaining time it is contracted and helps in the formation of forward bending of this rectum, so that it regulates the defecation. This is about the puborectalis, and the puborectalis is the muscle actually over this muscle only. The head of the baby, it is lies for the forwarding rotation during the parturition time. So that's why this is the puborectalis sling. It forms a component of anorectal ring. So next here also you can see, and this is the puborectalis muscle. It is going back, and next it is winding around this anorectal junction. Next it is continuous with the opposite muscle. Next is the puboanalis muscle. When you see puboanalis muscle, this puboanalis muscle, which is also arises from the white line, and some portion it is arises from the pelvic surface of the body of the pubis bone, and which is descended down and backwards and medially, and it is blends with the anal canal, and it is continuous with the longitudinal musculature of anal canal, and some portion it is also inserted into the perineal body. But most of the fibers which are continuous as a anorectal longitudinal musculature of anus. So this is about the puboanalis. So these are the middle fibers which are forms. One is the puborectalis muscle and puboanalis muscle. Puboanalis muscle which blends with the anal canal. Next we will see the anterior fibers. Anterior fibers, in males it forms pubovesicalis, in females it forms pubovaginalis. See here, this is the pubovesicalis or pubovaginalis in females. You see these fibers are arises from the pelvic surface of the pubis bone, body of the pubis bone, which is descended down backwards and medially, and which is in male it is winds around the prostate gland. So that's why in males this pubovesicalis muscle is called as a prostate levator prostata. Okay, levator prostata muscle. And when you see in female, this muscle it is runs same course backwards and medially, and it is blends with the vaginal wall. After reaching into the posterior part, in the male and female, this pubovaginalis or vesicalis muscle which is inserted into the perineal body. Okay, perineal body. So when you see here, so this is the rectum which is surrounded by puborectalis sling, and this is the vagina. So here we are seeing the pubovaginalis muscle. So this is about the pubovesicalis or pubovaginalis muscle, and it is inserted into the perineal body. You see the perineal body, it is looks like as a pyramidal shaped fibromuscular node, and this fibromuscular node actually it is lies in between the anal canal and vaginal opening. This this body here, it is lies in between the anal canal and vaginal opening, and this apex of this perineal body which receives the rectovesical fascia, and this remaining portion which is contains the different muscles insertion, so which receives the insertion of the different muscles. The insertion of the different muscles which are arranged as a 3 stratas. There is a deep strata, intermediate strata, superficial strata. So we can see this is the anal opening, and here we are seeing this is the perineal body. So this pubo-vaginalis muscle which is piercing here, which is inserting into the perineal body. So when you see the perineal body, it contains the 3 group of musculature. There is a deep strata. Deep strata, it is formed by the levator ani muscle, and intermediate strata. Intermediate strata, it is formed by the deep perineal pouch muscles and deep musculature of external ani sphincter. And next, when you see the superficial part, it formed by the there is superficial fibers of external ani sphincter, and in males there is a bulbospongiosus muscle. Okay, bulbospongiosus muscle which forms this superficial part. So this is about the 3 stratas of perineal body. Next, you see here 2 more important points. When you see this this pubo-vesicalis muscle, this pubo-vesicalis muscle actually which is surrounds the prostate gland in the male, so that's why it is helps in the elevation of the prostate gland. So that's why this is called as a levator prostatis or prostata, and this levator prostata along with the other muscles which is causes the elevation of the neck of urinary bladder. So that's why this is causes the stimulation of detrusor muscles in the urinary bladder, and it helps in the voiding of urine. So this is about the very important pubo-vesicalis function. And you see the pubo-vaginalis muscle, actually it is helps in the contraction of vagina. So that's why it is called as a vaginalis constrictor muscle or vaginalis contractor muscle. So when you see this vaginalis constrictor musculature which is causes the narrowing the lumen of vagina, so that's why it is helps in the this it is prevents the prolapsing of uterus. So during the episiotomy surgeries, that time there is a posterior incisions of this vaginal opening for the widening of vaginal opening during the parturition. So that time it may causes the rupture of this pubo-vaginalis part. Otherwise, during the repairing of regions in the pubo-vaginalis musculatures, that may causes the this rupture, and it may causes the widening of the vaginalis opening, and may leads into the prolapsing of uterus. So that's why the repairing of pubo-vaginalis muscle is very important. If it is neglected, that may leads into the prolapsing of uterus cavity. Next we will see the coccygeus muscle. This is a levator ani group of muscles are we finished. I will see coccygeus muscle, that is the posterior muscle. When you see the coccygeus muscle, this is a triangular muscle, and this muscle which is arises from the pelvic surface of the ischium and apex of the ischium. Okay, and actually when you see this coccygeus muscle, most of the fibers are degenerated here, and which are forms as a ischio-coccygeal ligament or ischio-coccygeal ligament or ischiospinal ligament. sacrospinal ligament. So this sacrospinal ligament is forms here, and so that's why whatever the anterior remaining fibers which are arises from the sacrospinal ligament and this apex of the ischium, then these fibers are descended down, backwards and medially inserted into the upper two pieces of coccyx and lower one piece of sacrum bone. So this is about the coccygeus muscle. Actually this coccygeus muscle, it is helps in the moving of this coccyx bone, or it is helps in the forward moving of pulling of this coccyx bone after the displacement of coccyx during the defecation or parturition. So that's why it is helps in the forward pulling of this coccyx muscle, coccyx bone. So this is about the coccyx. So when you see here, so this is piriformis, and just below that one we are seeing this is a ischio-coccygeus muscle. Ischio-coccygeus muscle, it is arising from the apex of the ischium spine. That is, next it is inserted into the this upper two pieces of the coccyx and lower one piece of the sacrum bone. Okay, so this is forming the gutter, this ischio-coccygeus, and this anterior is the levator ani group of muscle, iliococcygeus, pubococcygeus. Pubococcygeus is a proper, and here, and next is a puborectalis slim and puboanalis muscle and pubovaginalis muscle. Next, when you see here in this diagram, you can see all the muscles before to backwards, and this is the coccygeus muscle, that is a posterior group. And next, when you see, this is the iliococcygeus muscle, and after the iliococcygeus muscle you can see the pubococcygeus proper, and after that you can see this is a puborectalis muscle and puboanalis muscle, and this is a pubovaginalis muscle and pubovesicalis muscle, which is inserting into the perineal body. So this is forming the vector. So here also you can see all these muscles. So this is the anal opening and this is the vaginal opening. Here we can see the perineal body. So this is also now supply. Levator ani muscles. Levator ani group of muscle, the posterior part which is supplied by the fourth sacral nerve from through pelvic surface, and anterior part which is supplied by S2 and S3 nerves through perineal surface, and which are derived from the pudendal nerve. And coccygeus muscle, this coccygeus muscle which is supplied by fourth and fifth sacral nerves. Next we will see the openings of the pelvic diaphragm. You see here there is a very importantly two openings are presented, and one is called as a hiatus urogenitalis and another one is called as a hiatus rectalis muscle, rectalis opening. When you see hiatus urogenitalis, it is a triangular opening, and it lies in the anterior part of levator ani muscle, and which gives the passage of urethra in male, and when you see in the female, urethra and vagina, behind the urethra vaginal opening is presented. This is called as a hiatus urogenitalis. Next is the hiatus rectalis. This hiatus rectalis, it is a circular aperture in the posterior part of levator ani group of muscle, and it gives the passage of anorectal junction. Next is the hiatus squelba, and when you see this is clinical anatomy point, when you see this levator ani group of muscles actually which is arises from the tendinous arch. Tendinous arch, it is blends with the this obturator internus fascia. So when there is a levator ani muscle is failed to arises from this obturator internus fascia, there is a gap is presented in between the obturator internus fascia and this tendinous arch. That gap is called as a hiatus squelbi, and through that gap the pelvic contents may herniated corresponding ischio-anal fossas. This is the abnormal opening. So these perineal hernias we can see these are the openings we are seeing in the anterior part, and the posterior part also we are seeing here, and these are according to their location it classified as a different type, that is right lateral and right upper one, right lower one, and left upper one and left lower one. So like that perineal hernias are presented. Now we will see the functions of pelvic diaphragm. Pelvic diaphragm actually it supports the pelvic viscera, and it gives counteracts the downward thrust of diaphragm during the increased intra-abdominal pressure. So that's why it helps in the support of pelvic viscera. When there is a damage to this one, the pelvic contents or organs may display prolapse easily. So when you see in male, I already told you that is in male levator ani muscle, that is a pubo-vesicalis muscle. It is along with the other group of levator ani muscle, it is helps in the elevates the prostate gland. So that's why it is called as a levator prostate muscle. When you see in the female, so that same muscle, it is called as a vaginalis contractor or constrictor vaginalis, and otherwise it is called as a sphincter vaginae. This sphincter vaginae it is helps in the contraction of the vagina, so that's why it is helps in the narrowing the vaginal lumen, so prevents the downward displacement of the uterus. And when you see coccygeus muscle, it pulls the coccyx forwards after it is displaced backwards during the defecation or parturition. Next, when you see during the defecation, there is a puborectalis sling, it relaxes, and rectum and anal canal forms as a straight tube, and other time at the same time it is also helps in the elevation of the anus, so that's why defecation is freely conduct, and remaining times this is forms a forward curvature of the rectum. In parturition, the puborectalis slings upon which the head of the fetus is rest, and it is allows for the forward rotation of the head into the lower part of the birth canal. So here we can see this is a vaginal opening and this is the anal opening. So around this puborectalis sling only, that time we are going to see the head of the fetus is rest for the forward rotation. And next, when you see in micturition, pubococcygeus is relaxes as the intra-abdominal pressure increases, and bladder, the neck, it is descends. So that's why this descent stimulates, it contracts the detrusor muscles of urinary bladder, helps to avoid urine. So when you see here during the parturition and for the widening of this vaginal opening, there we are going to give the midline incision or mediolateral incisions for the widening of this vaginal opening. This incisional surgery is called as a episiotomy surgery. This episiotomy surgery, it is helps in the widening and helps in the parturition. So this episiotomy surgery, it is causing the damage to so this episiotomy surgery, it causes the damage to pubovaginalis muscle, and if proper repair is not take place, it may cause the prolapsing of uterus. So this is about the pelvic diaphragm. So thank you for your concentration. We will see next topic, that is the sacrolumbar plexus.